tell me a little bit about yourself, maybe your background, your qualifications and your experience, and what it is that you do.
Yeah, so in 2006, I trained as a clinical hypnotherapist and psychotherapist, and basically had decided to leave the rat race of London from working in the corporate world. And I set up my practice in Chelmsford and have basically been working with clients specialising in stress, anxiety and weight loss for many, many years. But over the years, I noticed that there was a pattern of clients that I work with. Obviously with stress, it's the underlying issue for any reason why we're not achieving any goal, whether we feel stressed or not. But ultimately, I found that a lot of the clients I was working with were high achievers. They were business owners, they were corporate leaders. So out of that, I developed a 20-week program called the Rich Life Program to help those clients maximise their performance, wellbeing and success, and basically be the best they can be. So I've got a broad spectrum of people that I work with, from, you know, late teens, early 20s, through to sort of housewives that are wanting to, you know, go back to work, working on their confidence, you know, to kind of get back into the workplace having had kids, through to sort of business people, corporate leaders that employ, you know, 100+ staff, right through to, you know, old age pensioners that want to, you know, deal with a problem they've had all their life. So that's kind of a rough outline.
Excellent. Now, I've known you myself, well, over 10 years now, and we've done bits and pieces together over the years, and you've helped me with various things, which is fantastic, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you in at this time. And just so people know, what we're going to do over the course of the next 15-20 minutes is we're going to have a bit of a general chat, and then at the end, I've obviously been asking people to send in questions over the last few days, and I've got some questions from members that they've posted, and also some questions from trainers relating to the work you're going to be doing and how that's going to help the members. So at the end, we'll kind of go through a bit of a quick fire round of maybe, I think we've got about 8 or 10 questions, which we'll kind of cover off near the end. From my point of view, and from I think a lot of people's point of view, have done some of this stuff with you before, or are aware of sort of this sort of work and personal development and things. There's certain people in life that seem to do very, very well, and there are certain people who maybe have got equal opportunity or equal skill, it would appear, and they maybe don't achieve such great things. I'm thinking maybe someone like Tiger Woods in golf, or someone like Lewis Hamilton in Formula One. There's many other people on a similar level skill-wise, but they don't quite get to that top level. In your opinion, as a high-performance coach and everything that you do, what is it really that separates those top, you know, the top 1% really from the kind of also-rans?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, really, the key is that they work on their mindset. They master their mind. Those top athletes, sportsmen, professionals, you know, even celebrities in different fields, you know, they usually have a coach, but specifically they're working on the subconscious mind, the part where we, you know, our neural pathways dictate the way we behave, think and feel. And so people like Tiger Woods really are working so that they can not only practice to become the best at their sport, just like all the others, because there are many others like Rory McIlroy, Phil Mickelson, Brooks Keeper, I'm not sure how you say his name. I'm not a golfer, but you know, that's apparently 3 good ones. Essentially, they all practice hard, perhaps the same as one another, but Tiger Woods is able to perform at his best in a high pressure situation, i.e. a golf championship. And that's really what sets him apart from the rest, the fact that he can hold his nerve, and on the day he can perform at his absolute best because he's worked on his mind.
So I suppose really that's obviously at the highest level of sport, but you said earlier that, you know, you work with people in business, people in all various, you know, kind of modes of life and different goals they may have. I suppose really that dealing with pressure and dealing with stress, and the way you can frame that in your own mind and the way you can overcome that is it's a kind of recurring theme, no matter who you're working with, really, isn't it? Whether it be, you know, like you said, the corporate leader, whether it be the mother, whether it be the pensioner trying to get over something. It's the way you kind of frame and deal with stress and master your own mind. Is that right?
Absolutely, because if you imagine you've got two parts of the mind, you've got the subconscious and you've got the conscious mind. One is a round hole, the other's a square peg. If the two don't fit together, there's conflict, which means in essence we can't achieve our goals. We're going to struggle, there's going to be stress. So it is really about getting both parts of your mind completely on board with what you want to achieve, regardless of what that goal is, so that you don't have to rely on willpower, essentially, because ultimately the subconscious mind controls everything. If you imagine an A4 sheet of paper, a dot is the amount that is controlled by our conscious mind. It's that small.
Okay. So, I mean, obviously everyone at the moment who's watching this is we're all kind of in week 3 now of kind of like a lockdown situation with the coronavirus and that sort of thing. And people are going to react differently and are going to deal with this in different ways. And some people maybe struggle with it more than others. But do you see that the kind of work that you're doing can help people in what is a very, very unique situation that we're all finding ourselves in at the moment?
Absolutely. I mean, we're no different to the situation we just talked about with the professional golfers. Essentially, we're in a high pressure situation and environment at the moment with the coronavirus pandemic and lockdown. And some people are dealing with that better than others. You know, if some people work from home already, it's no big deal for them, apart from the fact they haven't got that freedom to go out as often as they want. So it is really about maximizing your mindset so that you can come out of this, you know, stronger, fitter, healthier, because you're looking after your mind, your body. If you're a business owner or, you know, you've got a career, your mind, body, business, you know, it's about really looking after your health and well-being, because everybody will be suffering stress at some level, even if they don't feel it, as a result of what's going on. Because obviously, you know, we're all different personality types, we've all got different genetics, we've had different upbringings, beliefs, and all of that dictates how we respond. Ultimately, we're all in the same situation, but our perception of that is different for everybody. And for some, they're going to be really stressed, really worried, really down, really feeling, you know, totally out of control, which is really stressful, because the adrenaline's, you know, the adrenal response is going to be on a lot, the fight flight response, because they have no control over this situation. So it's really about working on the mind so that you can actually feel, you know, that you're just going about your days, you've got a new routine, a new structure, new goals, you're focused, and you don't let what's going on outside there, i.e. the news, you know, bring you down. Ration the news to once a day. It's just recycling the same thing, just keep informed, but don't get depressed, because if you only watch the news and you don't look past that, you know, it's a very sorry situation, and not all the facts are right. I was only listening to something today. Someone in America was doing a video saying that, you know, they don't believe that this coronavirus is actually worse than some of the flus, like swine flu and things that have gone on in the past, and that maybe there's some strategy around this about, you know, getting vaccines used up that have been made in the past, and, you know, improving pharmaceuticals bank balances, and also, you know, controlling the economy in a way by creating this lockdown. She was an American lady, so there's lots of views out there as to what this is and why it's happening, but ultimately what we can control is what goes on in our own minds, or not, as the case may be, and that's where I come in.
Excellent. So, I mean, I know you've worked with me in the past, and you've worked with a number of members from Unique Results over the years as well. And I know that you kind of use a bit of a, you know, a few different approaches from kind of personal development and coaching, and also kind of hypnosis and hypnotherapy. And a lot of people maybe have heard of hypnosis or hypnotherapy in the past, and I think I've referred to it, and you've referred to it before, as people think it's a bit woo-woo and a bit out there. But if you can explain to the guys watching, kind of, what is hypnosis and what is hypnotherapy, and kind of how it works. And that's quite a complicated question, but if you can kind of put that across in ways that people can kind of understand, that would be really helpful.
Yeah, so hypnosis is just a natural state that we all go in and out of every day of our life. So it's really nothing remarkable. That's why we don't notice it, because we just feel quite normal when we're driving, and we're on a route we know well, and all of a sudden you think, oh, I've just passed that garage or that building, and you've been driving safely, but you haven't really took in every single part of the journey. Had you needed to slam on the brakes quickly, you would have done so, because your subconscious is running a program called driving. But ultimately you might have been thinking about work, what you're going to do for dinner, what's happening with the family. It's a bit like a daydreaming state, so you're in control, but essentially, you're not taking in every single detail of the journey. So it can be a little bit disconcerting, because you think, well, how did I get there? But also when we're reading, when we're watching television, or we're engrossed in a film, because it's a heightened state of focus and alertness. But having said that, for all those kind of women whose partners claim to have selective hearing, there is actually some validity to that, because when they're engrossed in the football or whatever, and you're calling them saying dinner's ready or whatever, put the bins out, they're sort of not hearing you straight away. And that's kind of the hypnotic state. So as you're not kind of clucking like a chicken. You're not, you've not got this urge to go to the fridge and eat loads of onions. Ultimately, it's just a completely normal state. So the hypnosis alone has many benefits, i.e. we can feel quite relaxed. That obviously is within the control of the individual, because if you don't want to relax, you won't, but that doesn't mean it won't work and you won't benefit, as long as you want to do it. Also, people find that they generally feel calmer, more confident, more positive, and can be left with a feeling of, general well-being for a good while after a session. And that's before we even work on your specific goals. So, have I answered everything there? Or
yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, well, you touched on something that I know that most people always bring up. If you mention hypnosis or hypnotherapy, most people's kind of default frame of reference for that is, as I've mentioned it before, I think it was probably in the 90s or something, when Paul McKenna was first on TV, and he did these almost like stage hypnosis shows, which were a bit of a laugh and a bit of a joke, and you get people out of the audience and you get them to do something stupid, and it's all a bit fun. But it's really just the difference, I suppose, between that, this kind of stage show and entertainment, rather than actually like a form of therapy and something that can be done. Because I think that's the fear a lot of people have, is that they're going to almost be made to do something or think something that they don't actually want to, that they're not in control of. But as you've said, you're fully in control. And if you don't want to do something, you don't do it,
Exactly. And people don't come to me and pay me for me to work with them to do things that they don't want to do. Ultimately, we set clear goals. So, yes, it is mind programming, but it's mind programming, so we work with you. I'm just the facilitator. All the answers are in my clients' minds. I've just got the tools to help them to get from where they are now to where they want to be. So, a lot of the business people, the corporate leaders that I work with, I've gone to those people because I figure in the business world to the top down. Hence, why we're having this conversation now, because ultimately those kind of people are the ones that are going to take a leap of faith with something that isn't, really, really out there and really, really commonly accepted, so that everyone's tweeting about it and Facebooking it and all this kind of stuff, and it's on the news. Hypnotherapy's got quite a hard road to travel still, a bit like flying. where the Wright brothers, you know, everyone said, oh, they're mad, you're never going to get a plane up in the air. And now what do? We all jump on flights like we get in our car or jump on a bus. So it's really going to give you the edge when you use hypnosis, when you use hypnotherapy. Forget the fact that there's the word therapy in it, giving it a little bit of a stigma. Ultimately, it's about mastering your mindset. And the way that you can do that is by working on the subconscious, you know, going in and working on the physical brain with someone like myself, in order to maximize your performance, well-being and success, and sort of get rid of the conflict and the stress that's holding you back from being the best you can be. And it's a little bit different to some sort of coaching, in that ultimately when you set goals, you're then accountable after that to yourself. You don't need someone like me for those goals anymore. You don't need me checking in every week, because we've nailed it and we've moved on. And usually people do come back, but for other things. So they don't need to be, you know, working with me forever and ever and ever, because we don't do coping techniques and stuff. You know, we go straight to the heart of stuff so that they can have permanent results. So it is a sign of intelligence and strength to use it. And that's what a lot of my business owners, entrepreneurs, corporate leaders realise. So as I said with yourself, you know, we've known each other for many years. You know quite a bit, you know, what I do. And ultimately, you know, you've been prepared to sort of bring this into your business because you want everyone to benefit. And that's exactly why I work with companies like yourself.
Excellent. Yeah, it's kind of like, I think the phrase is like early adopters, isn't it? So any new technology that comes out, you get these early adopters who kind of pick it up and start using it. And then as it becomes more accepted that it's kind of a good way to do things, then more people kind of broaden it out, and then eventually it goes out to the masses. You know, what we'll do, Claire, because I mean, I could obviously talk to you for hours about this, as you know, but what we'll do, we'll move on to some of the questions that I've had sent in.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll go through them. And like I say, combination of questions that have been sent in by members of Unique Results, and some of the trainers had as well. So if we go through one at a time of these ones, just so I'm going to read these because they've been sent to me. First one is, though it's nice to have a tiny bit of quiet time, as soon as it's over, routine is quickly returned to. I'm someone who finds it extremely hard to relax and is used to being on the go all the time. The only time I'm relaxed is during the rare occasion when I'm out on my bike, running or walking in the country, etc. How will this truly help me relax?
Yeah. So whilst all those activities are great to kind of switch off, and obviously we all relax in different ways, what you won't be doing when you're still doing something physical, even like walking, is actually putting your body into a standby mode and allowing it to heal at a cellular level. And that's what it does. It takes us into a state that it takes quite a while to get into when we sleep with hypnosis. So it's a fast track into healing, recharging, re-energizing the body. So I would say that to kind of practice self-hypnosis for 10-15 minutes a day is going to really sort of be even more beneficial, in addition to those things you're already doing, to take some time out and clear your mind.
Excellent. Yeah, because I mean, more and more people now are aware of sort of phrases like, you know, mindfulness and meditation, and, you know, we've got like things like the Headspace app and things, and people just to take that quiet time, aren't they? So, so it's actually something that some of the concepts are becoming more accepted, and people are realizing, you know, that this sort of stuff is great for them, but obviously not working on a hypnosis or hypnotherapy level, which would be the next kind of level, you know, as you've explained.
Exactly. It's the tip of the iceberg, really, with those kind of things. And the good thing about hypnosis is you don't have to clear your mind either. So, you know, a lot of people struggle with that. It's okay to have a busy mind. You know, we can still benefit by doing hypnosis with the most active of minds. In fact, those minds do even better with it.
Excellent. So question 2 then, we've got, I think this was from one of the trainers here, 1 or 2 of the members, but I know it's probably a lot more than that, have the occasional mental block regarding certain exercises. For example, I can't possibly do a press up because I'm not strong enough. Will this type of therapy help them to understand how achievable a particular exercise can be, and it may actually be something that they can do, that they're putting this block up for themselves.
Yeah. At the very basic level, doing some hypnotherapy will help to reduce stress, as I said, improve confidence, improve the mindset, so people feel more positive, optimistic about, you know, life and themselves. But ultimately, you know, it may be that that person or those clients need a little bit more to get down to those limiting beliefs that, you know, are there, you know, from the beginning. But they certainly wouldn't have been born thinking and feeling that way. It's a way that the environment and upbringing and, you know, beliefs people have raised them has kind of shaped them. So everything is, you know, reversible if the person wants that.
Excellent. Question 3: in the current climate, making habits is incredibly important, and you know, we will be making habits, you know, good ones or bad ones, naturally every day. How would you work with someone to ensure those new habits formed are good habits?
Well, everybody is different. No two people are the same, even if I work with them and they've got the same presenting issues and goals. Basically, there are so many ways we can work with hypnotherapy, psychotherapy, brain working, but essentially it would be rewiring the brain so that they can basically overcome the issues they've got and live the life that they want ultimately. And you know, sometimes in between sessions when I work with people, I give them coping techniques, strategies, things to be doing to reinforce the work we're doing in our sessions. But ultimately those things are only temporary, because we don't want to rely on willpower, because that's controlled by the conscious mind, and that's when things feel too difficult. So we're working in the physical brain to reprogram so that they can overcome those habits that they don't want.
Excellent. Next question is, what would you say are your biggest achievements for both you and a client since starting your practice?
That's really difficult, because I've been doing this now for nearly 14 years, and the transformation that I see with every client I work with, probably like yourself, is, you know, becomes quite normal, even though we know it's absolutely amazing. And it's wonderful to see people at the end forgetting how they were at the beginning, which is why I make sure we write down the goals in their own words so that they remember that. So it's very difficult to say. My biggest achievement for me is basically just setting up my business, leaving a job that was, you know, quite well paid in London, and just, you know, helping people, because I do walk my talk. I came into this business from using hypnotherapy myself, losing 3.5 stone in weight, overcoming a lot of stress and anxiety from, well, really childhood years, and then doing so much more, because obviously having a business, it stretches you, so you're constantly working on yourself, personal development. But in terms of clients, you know, as I mentioned, I work with a whole spectrum of people, from, say, comes to mind a 20-odd-year-old young lady who had claustrophobic issues. She couldn't go in lifts, overcoming that, to, you know, a lady who'd had quite a high profile career, had, you know, by choice stayed home for quite a few years, wanted to get back into the workplace. So we worked on confidence, anxiety about that, through to, you know, a businessman who had a business of 200 odd staff turning over, you know, million plus. So all of those clients are equally as, you know, to me, you know, amazing at the end of the day.
No, that's fantastic. What is the biggest obstacle that you faced since starting in this field, field of work?
The biggest obstacle is kind of the stigma, the myths that people have about hypnotherapy. And really, it is the secret weapon to everything. You know, as I mentioned before, you know, if people only could get past the, you know, the stuff out there that, you know, is so untrue, and know that it's a totally normal, natural state, and we all go in and out of it every day of our lives. It's just about mastering your mind. Then, you know, it would be even more renowned out there, and that's what kind of I've taken on to kind of get it out there, because there's so many people up there in the world of personal development, particularly the guys in the States, that are sort of touching on this stuff, but they don't have the hypnotherapy, which is really the thing that takes it to a whole new level. So, you know, peak performance and success, it really is about mastering your mindset. And for people in the situation right now, it's about not just surviving, but thriving and coming out of it with your help, with my help, stronger, healthier, fitter, and more energized.
Excellent. How do you recommend dealing with stress in relation to being self-employed at this uncertain and challenging time?
So it is a difficult time, undoubtedly. Obviously, there is some financial help. It depends on your business, how long you've been running it, etc., etc. But I think the key thing really is to focus on what you can control. Obviously, adaptability is a really key skill at this time. Thinking on your feet, transforming your business, if at all possible, into something that works more in the current environment. But if you can't do that, then obviously it is about accepting that fact and then just directing your focus somewhere else to keep that energy, that mental energy as well as physical energy, trained in a positive way. And obviously that's kind of stuff that we would be working on.
Excellent. We're down to the last couple of questions. How many sessions will I need, or do I need, to notice a difference or a change in my mindset?
Again, that's kind of a difficult one to answer because everyone is so unique. For some people, just doing a session, you know, they can feel amazing. It's a real difference after that. And as I said, that can last for a good while after, depending on how we're working. So yeah, it's how long's a piece of string. For some people it can be one session, for some it's a course of sessions. It's always a course that I do with people anyway. It's a commitment, you know, a number of sessions in order to get them to where they need to be. But ultimately everyone will benefit, even from the beginning, even if they don't feel it. It's just some people notice and feel the benefits sooner than others.
Excellent. Do you believe that some people are naturally pessimistic or negative and others are naturally optimistic or positive? Is this something that can be learned or changed even when it feels like you've been a certain way for your entire life?
Yeah, so we aren't actually all born negative and pessimistic. As I mentioned earlier, we all have different genetics, different personality types, which can dictate maybe whether we're more, to an extent, a glass half full or half empty person. But ultimately, it's never too late to change. So if you feel that maybe you're not as positive as you used to be, you know, or it might even feel like you've always been that way, as I think you said in the question, rest assured you haven't been. It's just that it's been ingrained from early years into your belief system, so that you can't imagine ever feeling and being any different. So, you know, maybe you're not the sunniest, you know, person in the room, but that doesn't mean that you can't be, particularly when you work on your mind. So yeah, there are people that are more generally outgoing and positive and upbeat, but there are also positive qualities about pessimism and negativity, and that's part of the personality work I do with clients, because there's one major personality type that will always see the downside, the pitfalls. So it's just about having a balance so that it can work for your benefit. But no, whoever gave that question, rest assured you're not like it permanently. There is hope.
Thanks. And then last question, do you believe that the mind has the ability or power to control what happens in the physical body, such as illness, immunity and healing?
Absolutely. The mind totally controls the body. The vagus nerve goes down from the brain down to the gut. And so if anyone can ever relate to having their stomach churning when they've had some bad news, maybe they've had to dash to the toilet or they've felt sick, you know, that's just a very basic example of how what we think and feel has a physical impact on us. and things such as headaches, fatigue, fibromyalgia, you know, ME, diabetes, all those things are physiological illnesses, tinnitus, but there's an element of stress that creates them in the first place. So, you know, our lifestyle is really, really important, because how we live affects our immunity, and 80% of our immune system is in our gut. So if you think of that mind-brain connection, we need our thoughts to be as positive as possible in how we live. Otherwise, it upsets the balance. So a lot of illness and disease starts with stress. Stress damages the mind and body. And it is the 21st century syndrome, the disease.
Mm.